I need you to watch this entire video before you start an LLC, because if you aren't already avoiding these mistakes, your business could fail even before it gets started, and we are not having that. Before you jump in, I'm gonna need you to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of this wealth building information. Now, let's get after it. The first mistake I always see business owners make is that they fail to do adequate research on their business structure. Just because you're starting an LLC doesn't mean you're starting an LLC. There's a lot of things that you need to know. You have to understand the different business entities. You can be a sole proprietorship, you can be taxed as an S corporation, or you can be taxed as a partnership. The key is you have to know the legal implications of each structure. And you really need to understand, my friends, your long-term goals and whether you are looking for scalability. You might be asking, what is scalability? That means to grow your business, to scale, to elevate. This is so important. You want to make sure you evaluate your business needs and look at the needs based on specific industry requirements, compliance within other states, the laws that you have to deal with, and future growth and expansion. There are so many things that you really need to consider. It is amazing, but you got to wrap your mind around this. You got to also consider the level of personal liability protection needed. That is so important. I had a client one time operating as a sole proprietor, as an OBGYN, someone delivering babies. It's important that you understand the liability protection you're gonna need. It's important you understand funding and investment strategy. And make sure that you seek professional help and ask somebody, because although it may seem simple, you need to get the proper insights from somebody with experience. And that is so important. It's so important to make sure that you are consulting with professionals. Then you can get professionals through the Small Business Development Corporation, where they help individuals that are starting their businesses. You can do things like attend business seminars and workshops, but get an understanding of exactly what you're doing. And make sure you understand the state-specific regulations. Many of you are opening up LLCs in different states, and you really are not understanding what the state requirements are. Just because you open up an LLC, for example, in Florida that doesn't have state income tax, can you then go foreign to California that does have state income tax? Can you use that same name in California? Maybe not. That is why your naming conventions and all of these things become so important, because you can be missing out on opportunities because you fail to understand what's really important. You also want to make sure that you understand any licensing and permit requirements. Different states have different requirements, whether or not you need to file annual reports, whether or not that you need to have other very specific tax responsibilities in various states. And most importantly, what is your long-term vision? Even if you think, I'm just opening up this LLC for my side hustle, what would it look like if your side hustle blew up into your main hustle? Think about that just for a moment, because that is so important. And you want to make sure that you are doing this all in alignment with your personal financial goals, not in alignment with what other people are doing. It's just very important that you look out for that. And make sure that your business is going to have flexibility to pivot. Business strategy. Many times we start a business thinking we're going to do one thing, but then we actually have to pivot and do something else. What about the potential of having to add partners or investors? Or what about an exit strategy? All of these things really become super duper important. And how is it going to impact your life and your life commitment? Because I'm going to tell you right now, a business is not for the faint at heart. A business owner is working 24/7, 369, not 365. I swear I haven't done it 4 extra days. That is really how it goes. So you have to make sure you really understand that and make sure that you choose your business name properly by checking the availability on the Secretary of State's website. Verify that that business is accurate and that you can actually use that name throughout everything that you're trying to do. Check out your social media handles. Can you imagine you get a great business name and someone already has that name on social media, or you can't even trademark it, you can't copyright it? Make sure you do the right thing so that you don't have any conflicts. And you want to make sure you don't have any conflicts in the event that you want to exit out of that business. It's so important that you look at that. Check out the spelling of the business. Some of you like to get fancy and have these unique spellings of your business. However, that doesn't work very well on a website and things of that nature. So make sure you're really paying attention to everything that you're doing and avoid jargon and very technical terms, because a lot of times people don't understand what you're talking about. You got to be very careful with your branding strategy and all the legal considerations when you are naming your business properly. So make sure you're doing all the appropriate business research so that you can avoid things that can get you into a slinky or things that may be misleading to the public or someone else having your trademark. It is so much that goes into it. Can you imagine you started a business, you're making millions, and somebody hits you with a letter saying, stop using my business name? Then what? So take the time to do your research properly. You also want to avoid, my friends, having an incomplete operating agreement. First of all, let me make sure you understand what an operating agreement is. When you set up an LLC, an operating agreement is really sort of the Bible of how you're going to run your business. How many members you can possibly add, where you're going to open your bank account, who's going to be in charge of what. And this is very, very important when you have other members in your business. You want to make sure you have clearly defined roles and responsibilities and outline the duties and responsibilities of those members. Specifically specify who is managing things, who's in the decision-making process. Everybody can't make a decision, and you need to make sure you include dispute resolution. If you get into it, how is that going to be resolved? That is so important. Also, what about financial arrangements? Make sure that you document initial capital contribution, how much you're putting in the business from the very beginning. Are both of you, are all of your partners putting in the same amount? That's so important, because I'm gonna tell you right now, in all the years I've been in business, and it's been a long time, I have seen best friends go into a business together saying, oh, we're best friends. I love her better than I love my husband. Until you fall out. Then everything is a hot mess. So document it on paper properly in the very beginning. How are you going to distribute your profit and when? Are you going to distribute profit at the end of the month? If you have $10,000 in profit, are you going to distribute $5,000 each? Or you're going to be wise and say, we're only going to give each other $3,000 each, and we're going to keep $4,000 in the bank. See, all of these things become very important when you're running your business. And you want to make sure you outline procedures for additional funding, for getting expenses reimbursed. You want to make sure you have your reporting requirements documented. And really important, how you're going to exit the business. What if your girlfriend, all of a sudden, she was married, now she's getting divorced, and that spouse wants half of her half? Now what? Did you document that in your operating agreement? These things are very important. What about your buyout procedures? You're sick of dealing with that person and you want to buy them out. Or maybe they want to transfer their membership to their kids and you don't want to be in business with their children. So documenting how you're going to do things is very important. And making sure you have your succession planning down is key. how you're going to manage the day-to-day operations, who's going to be in charge. Because every time a decision is being made, I cannot contact you to tell me what your thoughts are. So at some point, I got to have discretionary decision making. Maybe I'm going to make decisions about $5,000 up to $2,500. Whatever that amount needs to be, you need to make sure you have that documented and your operating agreement. Make sure you document clearly record-keeping requirements. Make sure you document clearly voting rights, and make sure you document clearly your procedures for amending your agreement. That is so key and so important. You also want to make sure you have all of your legal protections outlined and how your personal liability protections are going to go. That is mission critical. You want to make sure that you do not neglect your tax obligations. This is a nightmare. I have seen so many people start an LLC, their business is doing great year over year, and they fail to file their income tax. So understanding the different types of taxes, from federal income tax to state income tax to self-employment tax to sales tax to payroll tax if you have employees, is very important. And making sure you choose the right classification is key, because your LLC may automatically default to being taxed as a C corporation, and you may need it to be taxed as an S corporation. Understanding the pros and cons of being taxed as a C corp and the impact it's going to have on your personal taxes is really important. Do that long-term tax planning. Let somebody analyze, look at, and forecast what it's going to look like if it rolls to your personal income tax return. And make sure, my friends, that you are keeping adequate books and records. Get yourself some software. Keep detailed expense receipts. And whatever you do, don't come to your tax person with your bank statement saying that these are your books and records, because those aren't your books and records. Your books and records are when you actually have an accounting program. But needless to say, you gotta track all your income sources meticulously. And you gotta have all of your bank statements, all of your credit card statements, and you need to be prepared to make those quarterly payments. I am just gonna tell you right now, hire a tax professional that knows exactly what the heck they're doing, because too many of you are getting yourself in tax trouble. You need to optimize your tax deductions and your credits, and you need to avoid common filing areas. Make sure you plan properly, file on time, and hit all of those annual tax deadlines, including filing all of your state requirements. If you are selling things like jeans or clothing or anything, make certain you're filing your sales tax returns, and avoid penalties that are costly because you didn't file on time. That is so important that you understand the tax implications and you do not get behind on filing your income taxes and all of your tax requirements. Avoid having insufficient funding and capital. When you are starting your business, you cannot imagine the amount of money it is going to take. That is why you need to have a detailed business plan outlining your goals and objectives. And make sure you have financial revenue objectives, that you are forecasting and identifying revenue streams. And by revenue streams, my friend, if you're operating a business, and let's say I operate KDA, right? A tax firm. I have an income coming in from bookkeeping, from tax preparation, from planning. Those are my revenue streams. Make sure you outline your revenue streams and outline all the expenses associated with those revenue streams, and then determine what your detailed funding requirements are going to look like, and look for additional funding before you need it. How much of your personal savings are you going to utilize? How much of your own money are you going to contribute? How much loans are you going to take out and personally guarantee? how many people you want invested in your business, that you need to also tell them what you're doing. These are the types of things you want to think of in the beginning. Are you going to be crowdfunding? Are you going to look for government grants? These are the things you might want to wrap your mind around and really put together realistic budgets and estimates for all of your startup costs. And then when you come up with the cost, hit it with a 25% multiplier for the things that you didn't think of. Because when you are building a business, stuff happens. I'm just going to tell you right now, things that you would never even thought of could happen. So when you have that contingency fund in place, when you're monitoring your cash flow on a regular basis, when you're making adjustments as necessary, you are putting yourself in the best position to make sure you succeed. But always, always consult with somebody that understands this, because nothing trumps experience. When you can work with experienced entrepreneurs and that understand, you're going to be in a better position. Get to different workshops where they talk about finances. Make sure you're going to small business development workshops and review all of this information on a regular basis. You may not understand it all, but as you talk about it, eventually it's going to drip on you and eventually you're going to get it. But if you don't plan to succeed, you will plan to fail. So make certain that you plan for funding and how you're going to have capital, cash flow in your business. And most importantly, do not avoid your legal requirements. When you are in a business, you have legal requirements to register your business and update on the Secretary of State website every year your statement of information, every other year for an LLC, and just making sure you stay in compliance at all times. I would hate for you to miss out on a major opportunity because your business is not in legal compliance. That is why before you start that LLC, you know you got to go out and you got to do some research on that name. You know you need to understand the type of business structure. You want to make sure you understand the tax implications of starting that business. You want to make sure you understand where you're going to get your funding from and what that's going to look like. You're going to put together a nice budget for your business. You're going to make sure that you spend some time thinking about your business before you start your business so that your business can excel. Those that are going to plan are the people that are going to win. If you had to chop down a tree and you had 4 hours, you would want to spend 3 hours sharpening your axe and measuring exactly where you're going to hit the tree. And then maybe on an hour chopping, because planning is the key to business success. And now that you know better, you absolutely are going to do better. I want you to type LLC in the comments, and I want you to like, subscribe, and tell all of your friends so you don't miss out on any of this wealth building information. Now get after it.